Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Lions End podcast. I'm your host, Dan Stone, and today we have chapter 1101 of One Piece titled Dear Bonnie. Let's jump into it. We still don't have a cover story, but we do get the Shonen Jump cover, and we also get to see a color spread with the official colors of the Vegapunk. The only one I'm slightly disappointed by is Shaka, because I like a black and gold theme rather than a green and gold, but still looks cool. I was also hoping the metal guard on the helmet would have been gold too, but whatever. Other than that, I mean, they look relatively cool. I saw the trailer for the Wano arc in the anime, and that looked phenomenal, so looking forward to seeing some of the scenes that we're reading in the manga get animated, and also looking forward to the digital colorization of the rest of the Wano arc, and hopefully soon the Egghead arc. But yeah, let's jump into the chapter. We pick up right where we left off at the end of chapter 1100 with Kuma coming on to Dawn Island and seeing Luffy in the middle of a Gum Gum Axe. And I'm going to keep this review short, by the way, because I have a lot going on right now. But I think it was really, really cool for Kuma to witness what I'm sure he must have thought was Joy Boy. I mean, he knew Luffy was Dragon's son. I'm sure he knows the history. If he knows or has some idea of the history, because if you'd seen my Gurusei video, he has a story of the Kuyomon, the symbol of the Kuyomon in his church, within the cross, and so I'm sure he has some idea of the history. And when we go on later, he says that at the end of the chapter, Bonnie asks Kuma what Joy Boy was like, and Kuma says no one knows for sure, but they say his body was all rubbery and there was no limit to what he could do in a fight. Specifically talking about Nika, but Nika's Joy Boy as far as we understand it. And so I think it was great for Kuma to at least recognize that Nika could have been back and Nika could have been real before becoming fully automated, like we saw, well, in the current story right now. Because I'm not entirely sure if he was fully automated by the time that we met him in Thriller Bark and in the Sabaody Archipelago, but definitely now he's fully automated. Well, who knows, actually. With this chapter, though, I do think that this is the end of the Kuma flashback. If we do get more of the Kuma flashback, I can't imagine it being more than 3 more chapters. We have a break at the end of this chapter. I think this is a very, very good place for Oda to kind of pull us back into the current story, unless he has some bombshell left for us to see at the end of this story. Because right now, as it's left off, we get this interaction with Dragon and Kuma, kind of seeing that Kuma's still helping other revolutionaries as much as he can. He'll show up, boom, and just knock them out and then leave. And I think part of the reason why he doesn't want to say anything is because I have to imagine if the room that Dr. Vegapunk at Egghead Island, if the rooms at Egghead Island are bugged, there's no way that Saint J. Garcia Saturn didn't tell Vegapunk to bug Kuma's body. So I'm sure that Kuma's communications were always being intercepted. It even seems like when they sent him to go and destroy the pirates that were raiding the merchant ship, they were communicating or trying to communicate to him. I guess he was just ignoring him. And I have to imagine that they probably weren't talking in a Denden Mushi, because I don't imagine how practical that would be. He probably has some earpiece connectivity or something to that effect that allows them to see maybe not see what he's seeing, but definitely hear what he's hearing. There is some form of communication there, I have to believe. And so that's probably the reason why when Kuma's helping the revolutionaries, he doesn't say anything. He just comes in, boom, and leaves. Does his thing and leaves. Just to create anonymity there. We go back to Bonnie on Sorbet Kingdom, and this was by far the worst in terms of emotionally, like the worst. Like it was tough to read, the emotional weight of it, but also the best part of the chapter from a writing standpoint, because we get to see that Bonnie is eagerly looking out for Kuma's letters, and obviously there are no letters, right? Kuma is writing letters according to the to the manga. He's writing letters to Bonnie, about 10 letters a month, right? But of course, with Bonnie's caretakers being a member of CP8, I believe, and probably some relative of Khalifa, and we know that Khalifa's father was also in CP9 at some point, that she doesn't care for that, right? Like her job is to obviously Kuma made a deal with St. J. Garcia Saturn, but Saturn's a devil, right? So he's never going to uphold that end of the bargain. It's kind of like a genie, right? Where genies aren't usually portrayed like they are in Aladdin. It's not Robin Williams, happy-go-lucky, I'll save you, right? It's usually more, genies are usually more antagonistic, historically speaking, in the myths. And the goal of the genie is to grant your wish, but in usually the most twisted way possible, which is why you should be careful what you wish for. And so, in the same way, Kuma's genie, I guess in this scenario, would be Saint Saturn, who has granted Kuma's wish, technically, in the sense that he's allowed Kuma to heal. He's allowed Dr. Vegapunk to get healed. To heal Bonnie, rather. Good lord. But while Kuma is upholding his end of the bargain and not meeting Bonnie, they want to cancel all communication of Kuma with Bonnie. And I know that wasn't argued, but and maybe Kuma knows, but it's to save Bonnie's life. And well, clearly he doesn't know. He's writing the letters, so it is one of those things. But we can see that Alpha is a cold-hearted bitch, bro. Like, that's the only way I can say it, man. She's tearing up the letters, and so Kuma's writing all these letters to Bonnie. Bonnie's not getting them, and she's heartbroken. And of course, you could imagine, right? Like, Kuma's writing letters to her even as he's about to go under, right? And we can see the emotional toll that this is having on Bonnie, where she's looking out for the letters from Kuma and she's not getting them. I'm sure I don't have to do this, but like, put yourself in Bonnie's shoes, right? Like if you were close with your parent and you knew that you lost your mom, you never had your mom, and the one guy that you looked up to, your dad, had to go away to the military or something, and he said he was going to write you letters every day, and you hadn't gotten anything for a year or a year and a half. I mean, that would break anyone, let alone a 9-year-old. So it was terribly, terribly difficult to just watch. I mean, to read rather. It was that was tough, but eventually, Alpha gets her comeuppance, right? Queen Connie, being a legend, doing the most. She was able to, and the rest of the folks at Sorbet Kingdom were able to find out that Alpha is actually a part of CP8, and that this is just a cover. So her cover got blown in the same way that other people's cover got blown, right? So if you remember in CP9, Blue Nose's job, like his day job, was to run the bar, right? And he was supposed to get like information, reconnaissance, and bring it back to Kaku and Khalifa and the rest of the guys. And so it's ironic that in the same way that they were using that to bust people, that a CP agent got busted by talking too much in a bar. So I just thought that was very, very funny, and it just all came full circle. It's hilarious. It is great. Moving on, we get to see that how Bonnie actually gets to see. There's some fishermen. There's some fishmen that take her to sea. Queen Connie plays interference, allowing Bonnie to get to the sea. Now, obviously, that doesn't work because, well, Alpha's a CP8 agent, so she has some of the 6 powers, and she uses Skywalk, I believe. I don't know if that's Sanji's name for it, or if that's what it's. I don't remember what it's actually called. I literally think it's called Moon Kempo. So, is it Moonwalk? Maybe. Someone fact check that for me. Not important. She makes a beeline for the ship, skywalking or moonwalking all the way over, and Bonnie pulls out her Nika form, and I mean, she literally looks like Luffy. Like this, if you didn't tell me that this was Bonnie, like if I didn't see the suspenders and the crop top and the short shorts, you could have told me this was a panel of Luffy in Gear 5th, and I probably would have believed you. I mean, it was so funny, and it was so great to see Alpha get her comeuppance. And we finally get to see Bonnie go to sea. So, like I said, it's a break. There's a break next week. I think this is a good place for Oda to end this. This is a great chapter. Kuma's backstory is the best backstory in One Piece so far, bar none. From the secret lore dumps in the Kuyomon symbol, to the interaction between Bonnie and Kuma, to Kuma and Dragon rather, to the entire Vegapunk, seeing how that was created, Kuma's interaction with Vegapunk, Kizaru, Sentomaru, Bonnie, now Stussy that we do see in this chapter, which means she was cloned by this point. I figured when Dr. Vegapunk figured out how to clone himself, he probably figured out he could clone Stussy, and that's how she was created. There's just so much lore and so much character development and world development happening at the same time in such an excellent flashback. I'm sure we'll get some of the God Valley stuff later on, but obviously that paves the way for the prominence of the God Knights moving forward in the story. All in all, this is the best backstory we've seen in One Piece to date. And I know that's really hard to say, but even from an emotional standpoint, it's better than Robin's backstory. It is better than, it hits harder than Brook's backstory. And from a writing standpoint, it is clearly the best backstory we've seen in One Piece. So Oda, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Break next week, we'll talk about something, I'm sure, whether that's One Piece or some other pop culture related thing. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So I look forward to catching up then. But that's all we have. So until next time, I'm your host, Dan Stone, reminding you to keep your claws sharp and stay in the hunt. Take care, guys.